The topic is a personal profile of Miss Laura V. McCray. And of course, Ms. McCray, before we had our break, we were talking about aspects of your life at Tuskegee Institute, where you say you spent some 45 years. And let's reflect on that. Let's have you to sort of look at Tuskegee Institute and any year that you would like to select, and to talk about some of the processes and some of the things that happened to you at Tuskegee Institute, and leading from that the impact that these things had on you, or the personalities that you met, and et cetera. Because being at that institution, certainly you met a large number of individuals.
Absolutely. Oh, it happens that I entered as a freshman in 1928, and my major was business education. And I chose business education because I didn't do too well in my writing, and I knew that I could type, that I could learn to type, and that was one reason for my choice of business. Oh, well, I think I mentioned that I was a member of the choir, that I also served as the person in the training of the BS Baptist Student Union.
Okay.
I was in charge of that, and from that group I've met a lot of persons who have served as chaplains in universities and have taken into the ministry and that kind of thing. And during that time, the Tuskegee Choir was asked to come to New York at the opening of Radio City Music Hall.
Oh, very good.
And that was one of my first jobs after graduation, and I was a member of the choir, and we went to New York and spent exactly 2 months. One month at Radio City Music Hall in the opening, and we stayed over so that we could also do other concerts in New York City. That, I think I mentioned that because that was one of my most outstanding experiences. It happens that also, while I was, because I have been in contact with so many Tuskegee graduates, and because I was in charge of the student labor, and gave so many students jobs when they would come, some of them with $1 in their pocket, or have walked to Tuskegee, or something like that. It gave me an opportunity to do a lot of wonderful helping things for students. And it means now when I go to any city, the first thing I do is to call one Tuskegee graduate, and then we'll have a party.
Very good. You know, to talk about Tuskegee, and I think everybody understands the importance of Tuskegee Institute and Fisk, you know, in these periods. But you wonder about some of the personalities, especially since we're entering into African American History Month, and these are the personalities that generally come out. Let me ask, did you ever have an opportunity to meet the great Mr. George Washington Carver?
I sat George Washington Carver at all the Vesper and chapel services. He sat on the front seat in the chapel, and I sat behind him.
Well, what was he like in terms of, from your own personal impressions about this great man? I mean, what was he like?
Well, Dr. Carver would walk around the campus and would talk with the flowers and would talk with the trees and would just introduce you to, and you would know what in the world he was talking about. He was a big potato man and a peanut man, but he, and now my favorite food is the sweet potato, in any form. And it's because I think that I'm remembering Dr. Carver and his greatness. And sometimes when people are so close to you like that, you don't realize how great they are until others appreciate them, and then we begin to know what a wonderful scientist Dr. Carver was.
And so you had an opportunity every Sunday in Vesper to sit behind him while...
Yes. And Dr. Carver, in his passing, I remember he had not cashed his checks. Some of them were they found checks scattered all around in his place because I guess he just didn't need the money. But I knew him close up, very close.
Was he a family man, or did he have a...
Yeah, no, he was a single man, had a very high voice, and we would tease him, you know, would kind of giggle as students because of his high voice. He crocheted, and he painted, and he made preserves of vegetables and that kind of thing. Did a lot of things that were very feminine.
And so in a real sense, I think only now you hear people talking about how significant his contributions were, and not only the potato but the peanut, and how he made all of these things respectable and whatnot.
Right.
But living during that time, sitting behind him in Vesper or whatnot, you never saw him from that perspective. In terms
Well,
of
I
his
saw him. I knew that he was a great scientist, but, you know, just like any other faculty member, you know, you didn't realize how really great he was.
Well, you know, as a person who's involved in the church, you know that where they say the prophet is not without honor except his own, among his own people, and except. But good. That's what about Emmett Scott? He was very close.
And I read about him, and so many of persons who have become outstanding leaders. One of the persons I'm thinking about is Charles G. Gomillion.
Okay.
Charles G. Gomillion was the first time I ever heard the word culture. He came to Fisk University, and President Johnson then had some kind of a workshop, and he came back and would report to us on what was happening with blacks through that study. And Charles was a person who believed that that blacks would receive their rights through the court. He was not particularly in agreement with Martin Luther King on the nonviolence stuff.
And this is Dr. Charles Johnson at Fisk University.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the relationship between Tuskegee Institute and Fisk University. And of course, we've got about a minute coming up, and we're going to have to interrupt you, Ms. McCray, for this commercial break. But let's start off by talking about that kind of relationship. What kind of relationship did these two historically black institutions have with one another?
Well, I just think that Fisk was just kind of like the mother cultural leader, and Tuskegee was closely related to what was happening at Fisk, and so many of our students even would come to Fisk University for their college education. Some of them did. We have always been, and I remember what I remember mostly was how we would beat them in basketball.
And so you had an opportunity to meet the great Charles S. Johnson, who was president of Fisk University.
Yes, I just heard so much about him through Dr. Gomillion.
And Dr. George Washington Carver and all of these individuals. These individuals had tremendous impact upon the South and upon the African-American experience and whatnot. And we've got about 3 or 4 seconds before our commercial break, and we're going to have this break, Mr. McCray, and we're going to come back and talk about other aspects of your experiences. And we'll be back.